order, pledge, and a moment of silence. And I think we have.
Sure, your mic's on.
We have some student pledge leaders with us today. Lincoln Snyder from Mrs. Gibson's second grade and Braden from Mrs. Fouts' second grade. Or fourth grade, excuse me. So we have a second grader and a fourth grader with us. So pledge leaders, you can come here to this front table. And if you press, there's a little button on that microphone. And if you press it, it's going to turn it from red to green. There you go, you did it. So now it's going to hear you as you lead us in the pledge. So we can all stand.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both so much. You did a wonderful job. You can press it again.
Thank you.
1.2, roll call. Terry?
Mr. Brookhart. Mr. Garman.
Here.
Mrs. Heater.
Here.
Mr. Hoffman.
Here.
Mr. Reichard. Here. Mr. Vognetz.
Here.
Dr. Green.
Here. 1.3, minutes from December 6, 2023, the board reorganization meeting. The board will take action to approve the meeting minutes from December 6, 2023, board reorganization meeting as presented.
Motion.
Mr. Brookhart. Mr. Garman.
Yes.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 1.4, minutes. The board will take action to approve the meeting minutes from December 6, 2023, regular board meeting as presented.
Motion.
Mr. Garman.
Yes.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard. Yes. Mr. Vognetz.
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart. Dr. Green.
Yes. 2.1, board recognition. We have several athletic recognitions to make as a board as a whole. I'm going to turn over to Mr. Vognetz in order to make those recognitions.
And Mr. Ryan, if you go just two screens ahead, then people can see that as well.
All right, so the first team that we would like to honor this evening is the girls cross country team, coached by Jeff Brandt and Melissa Brandt. They had an amazing fall season. The girls team posted 20 wins over the course of the season. Team accolades included being crowned District 4 AA team champions, PIAA state champions, and a special congratulations to our top 25 place winners at the state. We would like to meet Victoria Bartholomew, right?
Yes, Victoria had 13th place individually in the state.
And Olivia Shen at 20th, and then Odin Ryer at 21st.
Thank you. And Coach Brandt and some of the runners are with us. So please stand so we can recognize you. And Coach Brandt, certainly if you have anything you'd like to share, please feel free.
My wife would love to doing Special Olympics snowshoeing. They're about 3 days. Also, we had a great season. They did a good job at working together. And they learned to persevere when things got tough.
Thank you so much. And Coach Brandt is also our boys cross-country coach. None of the boys are with us this evening, but Mr. Vognetz, you could certainly share their accomplishments. I will yell at him when I get home. Okay.
So, the boys cross country team, coached by Jeff Brandt and Melissa Brandt, also had an award winning season. The boys team posted 18 wins and were crowned District 4 champions. The boys also placed third overall at the PIAA state meet, with Dane Spar placing seventh individually.
So congratulations again, Coach Brandt. And we do have students from the Danville Hammers here with us today, if those students would like to stand as we recognize you.
So the Hammers rolled to their third consecutive overall state title in Division One. They also placed first for the Trail Corps Award and second for Division One racing. Several bikers earned state accolades, including Ingrid McElroy, overall state champion in the women's varsity division; Hannah Hafer, overall state champion for women's JV3 division; Max Dehart, second place overall in the state for men's JV3 division; Izzy Marks, fourth place overall in state for women's freshman division; and Lily Torres, fifth place overall in the state for women's freshman division. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Hammers. And I think the other people we're recognizing weren't able to be with us, but if you'd like to, oh, I'm sorry, Jara is with us today, yes. So Jara, if you'd like to stand.
So Jara is a senior, was selected to represent Danville Area High School at the PIAA 5A Football State Championship, where she opened the game by singing the national anthem. We are proud to report that Jara represented Danville Area High School tremendously. Congratulations. So we also would like to recognize Cole Duffy of golf. Cole is a junior of the boys golf team he had a great season. He took fourth place at the District 4 match, which qualified him to compete at the PIAA State Golf Championship. Congratulations. Football. The football team finished their stellar season as a four-time District 4 champions and were state qualifiers with an overall record of 12-2. Also, congratulations to several players who earned all-state recognition by the Pennsylvania Football Writers Association, including Madden Patrick, first-team quarterback; Aaron Johnson, first-team wide receiver; Justin Kutcher, first-team offensive lineman; Cameron Kirsch, first-team linebacker; and Bo Sheptok, first-team athlete. Congratulations.
Two point two reports. I'm not sure we'll have a ton to report here, but anything from the Finance and Budget Committee?
Finance and Budget Committee, we did not hold a meeting this last month. It will be the second Thursday,
Yes.
so it will be next Thursday.
And there was an email sent out saying when all the committee meetings will be
Correct.
on a regular basis.
Yes.
And they'll be at the same time every month and the same day every month. And we've condensed some of them so they'll be back to back. So if you want to attend more than one, it's easier just to slot one night to go to more than one committee meeting instead of having to go to multiple nights to get to the committee meetings. And the public, as always, is welcome. Academic affairs?
No, we didn't have a meeting, and our next one is January 18th at 6:30.
Buildings and grounds? Athletics?
There was a meeting on December 14th. We did have a quorum. A few items that were discussed were the scoreboard updates, the Heartland update, the Athletic Hall of Fames, and RFP for uniforms and equipment, and CTEs and athletics update. Anything else, guys? Oh, that's all. Next
health-
meeting. I'm
health and-
sorry. Next meeting is next Thursday.
Perfect. Health and Wellness is meeting quarterly, so no meeting for this cycle. EMA VTS.
Yeah, they had a meeting that I attended. Nothing really of major importance. They have a behavioral issue that is at a mass up there that they're trying to take care of. They would like to take care of in-house. And they are running through a different couple options as far as in-house, and there's a couple options locally where the kids would still have an opportunity at a VOTEC level, but it's like a more watered down version of VOTEC. Like I said, they would really like to take care of it in-house, but I mean, that goes along with the space and the money and everything else that has to go with that. So that was about the only major thing they talked about.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we currently have a representative of the CSIU. EITC,
Something.
Head Start.
Wasn't any Head Start meeting during the holidays, but fortunately or unfortunately, today we had a Zoom meeting, which was,
Your
which was
favorite.
quite interesting. They basically went over the things that we're very familiar with, and they was checking to see what we tried anything new or haven't to try and get more students to come to Head Start. And we explained to them our situation of where we live and why, and they were very satisfied with our answers. So they're looking forward to us keeping in touch with them. They'll check back, I think, 6 months to see if we gained any ground for student relations to pick up the numbers. If not, we're gonna have to work with what we got. I mean, we got a grant we applied for to be at that number because we don't think we're ever gonna fulfill that other number again. But that was our Zoom meeting.
Thank you. And the CS Trust.
Nothing.
Nothing? All right. I actually wanted to give the athletes here an opportunity to leave if they didn't want to stay for the whole board meeting before we start to get into the meat of it. So if you don't want to stay for the whole thing, I would.
Turn for your
Feel
life
stuck?
now.
Yeah, you don't have to feel stuck and stay just because you showed up for the recognition. This may be a long one.
Turn right. Lots of food.
So 2.3, school board positions. There are 2 open school board positions as of December 6, 2023. The positions were advertised as openings on the board, and the deadline to submit letters of interest was November 29, 2023. At this time, I believe we have 9 citizens, because we had a withdrawal, who have applied to serve on the board. I am now actually going to read off the process that we're going to use. So it's clear what we're doing. So we will interview the candidates in order alphabetically by last name. Only the candidate currently interviewing will be in the room at the time. I will inform them that they have 3 minutes to answer the following question. We have 2 current vacant positions on the school board. Please tell us why you are the best candidate for one of these appointed positions. They will have 3 minutes to answer the question. No follow-up questions will be asked. After all candidates have interviewed, the floor will be open for nominations. Note that nominations do not need a second. There will be a brief discussion period if needed about the nominated candidate. This is only if needed or desired by any member of the board. A vote will be held. If the candidate gets 4 votes, which is a majority of the board, they'll have won a slot on the board. Not all candidates may get voted on during the initial process, because if they're not nominated, they will not be voted on. Candidates may be nominated more than once if needed. If it becomes clear that the board is unable to agree on 1 or more candidates, As determined by the board president, I will open the floor for discussion by the board, and we will walk through and discuss each candidate in alphabetical order, on the record in an open fashion and transparently. I will ask each individual board member for their thoughts on each candidate for the public record. Of note, you are not obliged to say anything, but we will go through the process where you'll be offered the opportunity to say something about each individual candidate. We will then hold a vote on each candidate in reverse alphabetical order. If unable to fill the slots first time through this process, a vote will be held by the board to 1, repeat the process again, starting with the open discussion of the candidates, or 2, terminate the process and allow the judiciary system to determine the board member and thus removing the process from the board's hands. We will continue this process until 2 members are appointed to the board, or the board as a whole votes to leave the process and leave the selection to the judiciary. Does anyone have any questions about the process? And once again, for the record, this process is similar to other processes that have been used by other boards and is in compliance with PA law. All discussions with the board as a whole surrounding any of these candidates has to be in the open and before the public. So you're not allowed as a group to discuss any of this behind closed doors. So this group as a whole is discussing, listening to, and discussing these candidates as a group for the first time. So I want to be completely transparent and make sure everyone understands that. Any questions from the board itself? I know you were emailed this, the process, and had an opportunity to ask questions or raise objections. I received no objections to this process. All right. So I guess we move on to 3.1, interview of the candidates. The current board will interview the 9 Danville residents who applied for the 2 open school board slots, director positions. The candidates are listed in alphabetical order, and we will interview them in alphabetical order. So whenever we're ready for the first one.
That will be Sam.
I think it's Dr. Faulkner.
Do you want to take that? this list,
Sam.
Terry?
It's been a while.
Sure.
For all of us.
Supervisors meeting.
Dr. Faulkner, can you turn on the microphone?
Good?
Yep, you're good. So you'll have. You'll have 3 minutes to answer the following question. We have 2 current vacant positions on the school board. Please tell us why you are the best candidate for one of these appointed positions.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks for having me and giving me a chance to speak in front of you guys. I stood, or not stood, but I sat here back in March of last year, and at the time I sort of was making a similar case, why should I be on the board, and what I just said at that time was that I was here to really hone in and focus on the mental health and well-being of our students and our district. I think that based off the things that have taken place since I was on the board, I think it's fair to say that we have started down the path to making the right decisions for the mental health and well-being of our students. Some of the things that happened, and I will list some of these things and make it very clear that I am not the owner of the accomplishments, because every single thing that we've done in the district is a group effort from leaders, administrators, teachers, community members, and administration. So with Dr. Need, Jason, Dr. Green, countless volunteers, from the community, we developed the mental health task force, and used that group of experts and advisors to inform some really making evidence-based decisions on how to take care of our kids. We have rolled out evidence-based prevention and intervention efforts. We created standardized positions for licensed mental health professionals in the school district. We were able to hire licensed mental health professionals to support the well-being and mental health of our students, as well as taking a good look at our policies. And I was able to participate in some of the rewriting and adjusting of policies to really go above and beyond the minimum requirements to make sure that we're taking care of our kids. But to be clear, mental health, yes, that was my goal, but I don't think my service is indicative of being sort of a one-trick pony. I was a member of the Academic Affairs Committee, during which I was able to work very closely with June and Dr. Green, Dr. Need, and Jason, as we really look to make sure we are selecting and implementing evidence-based curriculum for the academic success of our students, and perhaps more importantly, developing and utilizing tools that allow us to assess the strengths and the weaknesses of the students in our district and prevent and intervene appropriately to make sure that they can be successful academically, wherever they may fall on their academic skill set. I would also note that I am a servant to the taxpayer. So at the end of the day, we can do wonderful things, but if we are constantly compounding debt and incurring more budgetary complications, it's not going to be helpful in the long run. So all of those wonderful things, and that's just a snapshot of what has happened over the past couple of months, were done while also decreasing the budget by $1.5 million.
Fine.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Faulkner.
Should I cut this off or just leave it on?
Leave
Just
it
leave it
for
on.
the next person. Thank you.
I believe Kasten Kirsch is our next.
Yes, Terry.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes to answer the following question.
Okay.
We have 2 current vacant positions on the school board. Please tell us why you are the best candidate for one of these 2 appointed positions.
That's a good question. I think the easiest thing in my brain that comes out first is I've done it before. Served 2 years when I was appointed, I believe, through right before COVID to right after COVID. So I've sat through the committees. I understand. Don't quote me on this, Terry, but I don't think I missed any meetings. I think I was there for all of them and all the committee meetings that I was a part of, because I grew up in a family that believed in giving back to the community. I moved, actually, what's today? Today's the 3rd. I moved here 21 years ago to Pennsylvania. And before that, the longest I lived anywhere was 6 years. So to me, giving back and being involved was a way for me to be involved in a new community. So I think it's something that's kind of always been in me. I enjoy it. I consider myself very open-minded. I work as a physical therapist, so when I left today, there was a 12-year-old female patient there, and I had just finished with a 87-year-old male patient, markedly different people. And in the end, it's not about what I want them to be able to do, it's about what they want to be able to do. So the open-mindedness, I think, makes me a good candidate. But I think probably the biggest and most important thing is I don't have any problems understanding what's best, in my opinion, for the kids, but also understanding that my opinion may not be the only one in the room. When we were going through COVID, I thought to myself, that fall of 20, when we started talking about not bringing the kids back from Thanksgiving through 2 weeks after Christmas because of what we knew at the time, my heart of hearts, that wasn't the best for my kids. But based on what we knew at the same time, I felt that was what was best for the district. So I knew my kids were not struggling, but they're social people like me. so they enjoy being around people and understanding people and interacting. And for my personal well-being, it would have been best for them to be in school, but for the district, it was best for me to say that we probably need to err on the side of caution and be home. So I think that's probably the best example I can give of what I think I can bring, is understanding what's best for my children may not be what's best for the other 2,100 kids, somewhere, 2,000 kids, pretty close. That's what it used to be when I was around. So I think that's probably the biggest asset that I bring as a potential board member. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
We appreciate you. Hello, sir. Yep. So you have 3 minutes to answer the following question. We have 2 current vacant positions on the school board. Please tell us why you are the best candidate for one of these appointed positions.
In my opinion, I feel that I'm the best person because I'm a true Danvillian. I bleed orange and purple too. It has been that way for my life. Any other question?
Oh, sir.
I've worked 25 years for Fulton Bank. I've worked 8 years at Geisinger Health Plan and 8 years at McDonald's, and then I retired. Thank God. And I love Danville. Been here all but 3 years of my life, and there's no place better than being home in Danville. So, go Ironman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like we need music in between the candidates.
Jeopardy music.
I said I feel like we need
Jeopardy
music in
music.
between the candidates.
Wait a minute, I
Say,
can
do we
turn it
remember
on,
to
get you
say-
some on the phone. How about some iHeartRadio?
Hello, sir.
Is he not?
Wait, we're out of order.
Um,
What happened to question?
Mr. Gump, is he not present? He's not.
Oops, daisy.
Come on.
All right. You have 3 minutes to answer the following question. We have 2 current vacant positions on the school board. Please tell us why you are the best candidate for one of these appointed positions.
So one of the reasons that I think I would be the best candidate for one of these positions is because I feel that I'm a team player. So I don't need to necessarily have the best idea in the room, but I would like to share my input in trying to make the best of the situation and come up with the best plan for our students in the district. I've gained a lot of experience through my current tenure with the T-Railers. I'm entering my 3rd year as being president, and I realized that it takes a lot of volunteer time and a lot of good people to make an organization run and be successful. And I feel that I don't take any credit for what happens there, because I know that I'm just like the Sandy of the organization. I'm the president. I have a lot of good people that work with me, and I feel that they're there because they believe in the vision I have for the program, and they stick around and do great things because of that. And we've learned to work as a team. So I feel that that's important, you know, when you're bored making a decision for students and for taxpayers, that you work together to come up with the best possible solutions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You have 3 minutes to answer the following question. We have 2 current vacant positions on the school board. Please tell us why you are the best candidate for one of these appointed positions.
Well, years of external experience, like out on the street, my knowledge of a lot of things on the outside. Yeah, probably about it. How do you, how much more you want? I mean, how much more do you want to talk about?
It's your time, sir. You can answer it any way you want.
Well, there are things that I see, like right here, you have T8 lights. They could be retroed out into LEDs, save you energy. You have different areas around the school that you could place solar panels to help you with energy. You're kind of like, you don't have any ground space, but you have the roof at the maintenance shed, the broadcaster's booth, you could put solar panels on, the concession stand, you put solar panels on to try to save some energy, collect it, use it for yourself. Central Columbia has solar panels, of which they are installed, and they sell back all that power to PP&L to lower their electric bills. Find ways to save money. Because with solar, you don't have to dig it, you don't have to drill for it, you don't have to transport it, you don't have to refine it. It's there, collect it. I don't know, I'm waiting for questions from you guys. I just, you know, questions for me. I mean, I'm just kind of.
No, from the process that we set out, we have this one question.
Okay. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity. Gentlemen, have a good evening.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome.
We have one question for you. So, and you have 3 minutes to answer the following question. We have 2 current vacant positions on the school board. Please tell us why you are the best candidate for one of these appointed positions.
I feel there need to be some changes in the Danville School District. Why? Because I think the kids use the Chromebooks too much. I've worked for Bayada Home Health, and I've been in every school but Liberty Valley. And I have watched how they're teaching, and the Chromebooks get more than what the kids get from the teachers. I feel that they should be taught math, which they're not being taught math like I was taught. They need to go back to the old way. And they need to learn how to spell, because how can they read if they can't spell? And they need to learn how to write, not print. I have a granddaughter that's out of college, and she cannot write her own name. It looks like scribbling. She prints it. Beautiful printing, but she cannot write. And whose fault's that? And she's out of college. She graduated from Bloom College. I've no more to say, but something needs to change. And you're my great-granddaughter's soccer coach.
You're in trouble.
I've had the pleasure of actually coaching a lot of both the girls and boys in Danville. It's been one of the brighter experiences for me.
She told me she feels bad because you're going to be traveling now?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are part of a travel team.
Yes. Okay,
Thank
I have
you.
nothing more to say then. I think things need to change.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
So we only have one question for you. You have 3 minutes to answer the following question. We have 2 current vacant positions on the school board. Please tell us why you are the best candidate for one of these appointed positions.
Well, I have been in education for most of my adult life. I started out as a teacher's assistant at Penn State University when I was a graduate student. And then I went on sort of, for 26 years. And I retired last year, or 2 years ago, excuse me. In 22, I retired. And so public education has been my life, and I miss it since I retired. I really miss it. And I still feel like I have a lot to contribute to the educational system, and I really think that I can make a difference, more of a difference than what I already have. And I think that I have the time to devote to it because I am retired. And we do have our own business, but it's more of a part-time business than a full-time business. So that's the reason that I believe that I'm a good candidate for your 2 positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
We have one question for you. You have 3 minutes to answer the following question. We have 2 current vacant positions on the school board. Please tell us why you are the best candidate for one of these positions.
Well, I think, for one, I love this country, and I love this community. And I felt that perhaps this would be a way for me to contribute a little bit of my time to better the education. I'm very interested in education. Understanding that education is paramount, really. I mean, we're all in positions because we got education. And I'd like to see a well-rounded education, not one that's just focused necessarily on all those, you know, the sciences and math and English and all that, but even more broad, and also in health, both physical health and mental health. I've worked for 40 years in the medical field, and I've actually had some dealings with Geisinger and the school and Danville School District in trying to get a health education program going in this school. And we actually had the ball rolling, because it started before COVID. COVID hit, and that was the end of it. I had another meeting, this is probably 2 years ago, with about 17 people here about the same issue. And we had the curriculum director was there, but then shortly after that meeting, he took a job somewhere else, and that kind of, everything petered out. But health education is extremely important also, as I think as important as any other curriculum, whether it's math, science, whatever. Well, young people have to learn what it takes to stay healthy, both physically and mentally. So that's my focus. My focus is on, you know, trying to, you know, you hear people say, get involved with your community, get involved with your government, do something positive, and that's why I'm here. One question, that's it?
One question.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
So now I'm going to open up the floor to nominations. I mean, I would assume that if we started that process, we vote on them. They can always be renominated.
As someone, do I then have to vote for that person?
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
You can
I would
nominate
assume no.
whoever you want, correct?
And I have to vote for them?
No.
No,
Okay.
I would assume not.
Nominate somebody and not vote. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Well, if no one else is going to nominate, I'll nominate Sam Faulkner. I think he's done a lot in the board. I think he adds a lot to what this board can do. I think he's a smart, reasonable individual. So from my perspective, I think he's a good fit for the board. And I've personally found him very helpful in his time here on the board. So I would nominate Sam Faulkner.
Long background in public education. Her career in the ag curriculum. Maybe she did in her classroom, I have a little familiarity, but elementary teacher. Give us that secondary back.
So, Wayne, I was aiming, and the way that we had the process laid out.
Oh, you wanted to vote?
Yeah, just go through it. It's one of the reasons we put it out, so there wouldn't be any surprises when we. So I'll open the floor to discussion surrounding, if anyone wants to be on public record or make any public comment. Remember, people can be renominated even if they're not voted through.
Sure.
Correct.
Correct. And can if you use your microphone, sorry.
All right, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think I misunderstood what
I did too.
came out from what you sent. Like,
Okay.
I apologize. I thought the way it was that we were going to nominate everyone and then go from there.
Go from there, yeah.
I'm sorry. I read what you wrote, and I
right.
know you explained it, so I apologize.
It's
I
okay.
just didn't.
So-
I misunderstood also.
My concern about changing the process is the board has had a history of not following the laid out process in the past. And so one of the reasons I made sure it was sent out and there was room for questions was to avoid any surprises. I wanted to make sure that the process that we declared was the process we actually followed. It certainly, if the board feels that we need to follow a different process, we can have that discussion in front of the public. But this, the reason I made sure it was sent out and there was some time for questions was to make sure that it was okay.
No, that's fine. That's the process. It's
So,
not what I
so what you're
understood, but-
saying right now, if you can't put anybody else on, you only got 2 people.
No. So
Potentially, we could only vote on 2 people.
you could. So if the first 2 people you nominate get 4 votes, the votes are over. So like it says in the process, which was sent to every single board member, if a candidate gets 4 votes, a majority of the board, they will have a slot on the board. Not all candidates may get voted on during the initial part of this process. And so, for clarity, I can reread and remind everyone of what the process that was sent out to every single individual. After all candidates have interviewed, the floor will be open for nominations. Note, the nominations do not need a second. There will be a brief discussion period if needed about the nominated candidate. This is only if needed or desired by the board member. A vote will then be held. If the candidate gets 4 votes, a majority of the board, they will have won a slot on the board. Not all candidates may get voted on during the initial process. Candidates may be nominated more than once if needed.
So basically, we can't nominate nobody right now, it's closed.
Well, we're committed to voting on the first nomination and then,
We're voting on Dr. Faulkner. If he gets 4 votes, he's on.
correct.
If he doesn't, we continue down through other nominees. If we don't get
Whoever
4
wants
for
to
any of them,
nominate
we
after the
go.
fact, correct.
And then we go back through all of them?
If we continue to nominate and can renominate people until such a time where we tire of the process and go to the second part, which is the full discussion of the individuals and then a vote, sequential vote on each individual to try to avoid this going to the judiciary. I mean, I will repeat, one of the reasons I sent it out is because I wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page and had a chance to ask questions.
Jennifer, can I ask 2 questions real quickly? First of all, I think you've told us that we need to ask everybody the same questions. Asking questions, is that correct?
Yes.
Why would we have to do that, and what's the law?
There is no specific law, but it is a good practice just to consider it like a hiring practice so that everyone is given a fair opportunity.
Not hiring.
No, I
You're
said, but
appointing
it's
board
similar.
member, And the public school code specifically says how it needs to be done. And I've asked you if there's ever been a challenge on this in Pennsylvania.
Correct.
Why are we
There,
restricting ourselves and how we choose somebody from the community based on what you think is a good practice? But it's not the law. We hire you to tell us the law.
and I did say that with respect to what the law says is that the majority of the board will fill the vacancy. The law does not provide a specific process because boards can either appoint a specific individual or, and again, boards have decided to do interviews, and that process has been able to be flexible. What the law requires is that the majority of the remaining board members vote in an affirmative fashion on whoever is going to fill
There's no
that
point
vacancy.
that it ever said you had to ask them all the same questions.
No, there's no section in the school code
But
that
you told
says.
us that.
I said that that is best practice so that there is a fair opportunity for all individuals to have the same question.
Okay.
But is there anything specifically in the school code that requires that? No.
Was not the law.
Correct.
Thank you.
Are you okay with allowing the process to move forward, Wayne?
Excuse me?
Are you okay with allowing the process?
Yeah, we can follow the process, sure. I just wanted to clarify that because it came up all the way back to when you and I were appointed. And I took issue with it then, and we keep asking, being like, we have to follow that prior practice, but it's not. Not the law. Go ahead.
So I've nominated Dr. Faulkner. I want to open the floor for discussion if anyone has anything that they would like to say about Dr. Faulkner.
I think you did a fantastic job with the mental health piece, which is so important not only here but nationally. I think he was a great asset for the 7, 8 months or so that he was on the board. I don't have anything negative to say about him. I know he came through the primaries, I believe, and didn't make it through the general election. Relatively new to the community. I think a lot of it was based on name recognition, more than likely. That's just my guess. But no, I thought he was a good board
My
member.
question I have, sorry, Wayne, my
Yeah,
question
go.
I have is, why can't he do the same job from being a Geisinger besides sitting here taking up a seat? His general knowledge is Geisinger, and what he does is so much other knowledge out there needs to be brought into this board besides medical field. There's other things in life besides medical field. I'm getting tired of hearing it.
I'll follow up on that, and I appreciate what you're saying, and I don't disagree at all. I am really hoping with Dr. Faulkner that he expands into other areas. I think he did that a little when he spoke to us about the academics and the fiscal piece of it, but I think your point is certainly valid and fair. We want to see more than just the mental health, but you did a great job with that, again.
Anyone else comment? So Terry, to a vote.
You'll read it.
Okay.
I guess if that makes sense.
That makes sense?
Would he read it as like a? Jennifer, you could help us here. Does he read the appointment of director line, or we just take a general vote and then it would go to
I think it's a general vote.
I would do it as a general vote because in the event that Sam doesn't get all
Right,
required
of course.
votes, yeah, I think that'll be cleaner for the process.
Great.
I mean, that's what makes sense to me.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that way it's on record too.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Mr. Garman,
No.
Mrs. Heater,
Sorry. No.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
No.
Mr. Vognetz,
No.
Dr. Green.
Yes. For next nomination.
I'll
That would
nominate
be-
Kelly Smith Wells.
So open the floor to discussion.
I already spoke kind of out of turn, but,
Okay.
yeah, no, I don't know an awful lot about her, other than I think it would be nice to have a secondary school teacher. That's kind of the extent of what I'd have to say.
Anyone else with comment? All right.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Mr. Garman,
No.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
No.
Mr. Reichard,
No.
Mr. Vognetz,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
No. Open the floor to nominations.
I'll nominate Casson Kirsch. I think Casson's a well-respected member of the community, been around. You know, I think he's very well-rounded, you know, professionally, personally. I think he's a good fit. I think his mindset is every conversation I've ever had with him based on the students, what's right for them. I think he explained that himself. I think he's a good fit.
Anyone else?
Do we know, was he up for a reelection at all? Or, like, I don't know how he was, like, on the board and then off the board.
I think he was appointed and then he did
was
run
appointed.
2 years ago.
Okay. And then he didn't run.
Well, he ran 2 years ago, did not get on.
So he didn't get on. So the community
then-
did not put him on the ballot.
And then this past time, I don't know. I don't think he ran this past time.
Gary?
I think you're right.
Mr. Brookhart,
No.
Mr. Garman,
No.
Mrs. Heater,
No.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
No.
Mr. Vognetz,
No.
Dr. Green.
Yes. I open the floor to nominations. I'll nominate Daryl Reichard Jr. Would anyone like to comment?
I'll comment a little bit. I've had a pretty close relation with him for most of my life. As some of you may know, he ran for commissioner. I attended a lot of that stuff with him and intentions for running for this position, just to try and get knowledge and background. And I'd never been in a political state before, so I was kind of, my reasoning for kind of like going under his realm. And even community-wide, when he was doing that, I think his intentions are good as a whole. He's very level-headed when it comes to any situation, pretty much. And what I took in from following him around to those things was he listens very well and takes in a lot before he puts his input on something. And that's kind of, what I got, the most knowledge out of. That's what I really took in from him doing that run for commissioner. And he didn't make it, and I have talked to him back and forth after I got voted on, and told him, basically my thoughts on a good reason for him to run. Of course, it's a non-paid position, and he was running for a paid position, so that was kind of, hard convincing. But yeah, that's just a little bit of my background on him.
Has he run for the school board?
No, yeah, I never
Just
has.
county commissioner, right?
He's county commissioner. He come very close, but just not quite close enough.
And is
I don't
there,
know if I dare say anything about him or not. Probably be kind of not good.
You mean you're not going to say good things?
I'll just tell you what I think, and that's what I
Most
do
of
all
the
the time.
time.
Don't matter. He's a very honest person. He will do anything he feels is in good judgment for everyone, not himself. He's not a selfish person at all. He picks up on things. He follows things. He would not let anybody down. He makes good judgments. He has great visions of a lot of things, not just one thing. I admire him for what he's became from the stuff we went through in life as we grew up together, because he basically grew up with me. I respect him for everything he does. And he knows it.
and I just wanted to ask, there's no issue then, it's I guess Jennifer asking you that, it's busing and we go with the busing. It would be
Yeah,
follow along the
husband-
same
we had
line
husband
with
and wife
you.
on here, so no problem.
Everything's good.
Yes, what would happen would be any conflict of interest, the same as for any school board member, that if there's, they would just not participate in the vote and the discussion because of any conflict of interest, but that would not prevent any board member candidates from sitting on the board, provided that they meet the other qualifications
Okay.
to be a board member, such as, being over 18, good moral character, not having an incompatible office.
Okay.
Nothing that stops him from being on the board, then, you're saying?
Yes.
Is there anything that stops Mr. Reichard from voting for his son?
No, because there wouldn't be any type of monetary benefit because it's a volunteer position, so.
I might pay him,
Anyone else? Gary?
Mr. Brookhart,
No.
Mr. Garman,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
No.
Mr. Hoffman,
No.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz,
No.
Dr. Green.
Yes. I'll reopen the floor to nominations.
I'll nominate Robert Umbriak. Excuse me.
Okay. Would anyone care to say anything?
I didn't know Mr. Umbriak. I thought he gave a pretty good message. I would have liked to have heard a little more. I guess that's why I didn't mean to be in attack mode with our solicitor there, but that's why I would have liked to have been able to get a little more detailed on a lot of people. We have a guy that talks solar. I would have liked to have known a little bit more about his thoughts, and I can go on with this a little further, but from the small bit that I heard from Mr. Umbriak, I thought he presented himself pretty well.
Seems genuine.
Yeah.
I thought he was very sincere.
Yeah, I don't really know him, but he sounded good.
My concern with him is that his
Sounded sincere.
past focus has been solely on the health curriculum to the point of obsession. And so that worries me a little bit because the difference between the role of an actual school board member, those boundaries as they exist, I find it a little concerning, even though his message is good. Any other comments? Terry?
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Mr. Garman,
No.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
No.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Yes, did you say?
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
No. There's our first appointee.
4?
4.
All right.
So do I transition to 3-2 then?
Unless you guys want to, you can, but if you want to just continue with the nominees so that we can go straight then through 3-2 and 3-3, that'll probably be easier than jumping back and forth.
Okay. I open the floor to nominations.
Kelly Smith Wells.
Any comments? No? Terry?
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Mr. Garman,
No.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
No.
Mr. Reichard,
No.
Mr. Vognetz,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
No. I open the floor to nominations. I'll renominate Sam Faulkner. I still think he's the right choice for the board. And even though there are many other people here, from both what they've said and what I know of them, I'm willing to vote for. He, to me, is still the best choice. One of the biggest issues in this district was mental health. We had a number of suicides, which greatly affected the district as a whole, and increasing mental health problems. And I know that he has been talked about as if that is the only thing that he's focused on, but he demonstrated while he was on the board that it was not the only thing that he was focused on. And he has been especially helpful in starting to address and treat these problems in an evidence-based fashion, which is important to our kids and important to us. And I have to say, you know, it shows how important it is to the kids to have that addressed by the fact that they founded SPM and do all this work surrounding mental health. And I see some of our students over there nodding and agree with me. So from my perspective, it's the right thing to do for the children. And so I'm going to nominate him again. I think the only reason he didn't get elected is because he's relatively new to the area and, like Dr. Brookhart said, had relatively poor name recognition. I think if the first couple of years I had been here, I had ran, no one would have voted for me either. And I was overwhelmingly elected. So I'm going to renominate Sam Faulkner.
Can we speak?
Yeah,
I
certainly.
know I'm not good at changing anybody's mind. I'm not trying to, but I do feel, I thought about this a lot. I'm sure you all have. Respect the different perspectives of everybody on the board, and just churning this over and over in my own mind. I understand that, but he was just a good board member. There was nothing about him I could think of that would lead me to believe he's not going to, regardless of what the circumstance is. As his specialty is mental health, and I know questions about how much of that should be with the hospital. But he, and he's just cares about the kids more than make that decision to go down that path. That's somebody that cares about kids. No disrespect to anyone else. Kelly was a public school teacher, and Daryl Jr. I've gotten to know. Being honest and laying it all out here, Daryl, I respect you. I respect your son. I'm not comfortable with you both in the board. Legally, you can be. I just don't like it. Sam would be great. That's my feeling.
I do have to say, one of the things this board needs is longevity of board members. There's been a tremendous amount of turnover over the past 5 or 10 years, and that's led to some degree of chaos in the district. And to have people who are in it for the long haul, whether it be Tyler or Carrie or June or any of us. I mean, Daryl's the only one who's been here for the long haul. But we need more members who are going to be here for the long haul, and I think Sam would be here for the long haul.
And one more thing, if any of these people that get on, as soon as they get on and they take their seat, we work together.
Correct.
Whether I'm no on them or not, they're one of us, and we work together for the kids. That's the way it needs to be.
Just like Mr. Umbriac, despite the fact that I voted against him, I'll work with him.
And if I could just add something. So I had a super long pause when the vote came to me because I'm struggling with a certain issue with something that occurred that I felt.
Anyone else?
Ready?
Carrie?
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Mr. Garman,
No.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichert,
No.
Mr. Vognetz,
No.
Dr. Green.
Yes. That's our second member. Thank you all for participating in the process. I know this isn't easy, and your chosen candidate may not have ended up on the board. I appreciate everyone's patience with the process, and I apologize if the process that I put forward was not clear. I did my best to make sure that it was clear and as fair as possible. And I am proud to say this board, at least, has followed the process that was laid out, unlike some previous boards, and that everything that has happened has been above board and the discussion has been had in public. So I want to thank all the board members, and I hope that you all are willing to work with people, even if they were not your first chosen candidate.
I think the process was fine. I think maybe we just needed to dig a little deeper and read it over and over because it get kind of nuanced, but it was fine.
I apologize if it was not as clear as it should have been.
It's okay.
So we'll move on to 3.2, appointment of a director. So, where did I, okay. The board will take action to appoint Robert Umbriac as director of the Danville Area School District School Board. The appointed director term will begin on January 3rd, 2024. The new appointee will serve until the first Monday in December following the first municipal election that is scheduled for more than 60 days after the vacancy has occurred.
Motion.
Second.
Mrs. Heater, Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichert,
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz,
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Mr. Garman,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 3.3, appointment of director. The board will take action to appoint Samuel Faulkner as Director for the Danville Area School District School Board. The appointed director's term will begin on January 3rd, 2024. The new appointee will serve until the first Monday in December, following the first municipal election that is scheduled for more than 60 days after the vacancy occurred. Motion.
Second.
Second, I'm sorry.
I did.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichert.
No.
Mr. Vognetz.
No.
Mr. Brookhart.
Yes.
Mr. Garmin.
No.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 3-4, the oath of office.
We need,
Laura Reno.
Yep.
District Notary Public will administer the following oath. Should I read it or wait? Okay.
Congratulations, Dr. Faulkner and Mr. Umbriac. We're excited to have you join the board.
Laura. She does it better than me, Dr. Faulkner.
Close enough. I, Sam Faulkner,
Do solemnly
solemnly swear
swear that I will support,
that I will support,
obey,
I will discharge the duties
of my office
Congratulations. Congratulations.
I, Robert.
Congrats. Terry, do you have a microphone for Mr. Umbriac?
Thank you, sir.
All right. So 3-5, appointment of CSIU representative. The board will take action to appoint as a CSIU board representative, Danville Area School District. Would either of our new members like to be our representative to the CSIU? Mr. Umbriac, would you like to be the representative to the CSIU?
explain what that
Yeah,
means?
yeah, we should
Explain it.
Dr. Faulkner had served in that role.
Sam did do that last time,
You want to go back
too.
into that role?
I would be happy to, yeah, to continue doing that work. Happy to.
Okay. So the board will take action to appoint Samuel Faulkner as the CSIU Board Representative for the Danville Area School District for the 2024 calendar year.
Need a motion?
Second? I assume do I just appoint them? Or,
This one's actually a voting
This one
item.
is a vote, yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, you'll have a
voted.
couple committee things you need to appoint to then.
Okay.
And they're on the board now, so I should include them. Yes.
We're getting it all straightened out.
Right, okay, I just wanted to be sure, okay. Mr. Faulkner, Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Mr. Garman,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz,
Yes.
Dr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak.
Yes.
So 3-6, appoint committee members. So we have several open seats. Do either of you have interest? Dr. Faulkner, I assume you want to go back on the Academic Affairs Committee?
Yes.
So why don't we reappoint Dr. Faulkner to that open slot?
Is that, are you okay with that? Because I think you were really interested in the academics too. They could still come, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
could
of
still
course.
come.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have an open seat on the Finance and Budget Committee, an open seat on Buildings and Grounds as well.
Buildings and grounds.
Okay? And are you okay being on the Finance Committee as well? So each person essentially serves on 2 separate committees? Okay. So we'll fill that open seat. I don't think we have any other appointments that we have to make.
And, long-range planning isn't on here, but
Yeah.
I know we've established that it's you and I and is Sandy part of that
Was
too?
that you, Cindy?
Yeah, I think I was part of that.
Okay,
Okay.
because we'll need to schedule a meeting then soon. We can talk about that at the end of the board meeting.
And I assume, do you both want to go on the Health and Wellness Committee?
Yeah.
Those are 2 technically open seats.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that'd be great fits too.
So why don't we put you both on the Health and Wellness Committee? Dr. Faulkner, would you like to chair that committee?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to step down from the chair
Yeah.
and give it to someone with more expertise than myself in this. We're talking about cardiology, I'd be fine, but it's not the majority of what's discussed at that committee. All right, so I think we have all the appointments, right? So on to the superintendent's report. So item 4.1, the enrollment report.
Great. All right, if you take a look at our enrollment numbers, certainly very consistent to where they were, and we do have our holiday winter break in there as well. So less time for movement, if you will. But you'll see the numbers within our buildings and at CM AVTS are very steady from the December report to today. If you go on to the next screen, you'll also see that our non-public enrollment reports have also stayed very steady with just one change in reduction in outside cyber charters. Then today we have some state updates for you, some AP updates for you, and some athletic updates. And then we'll move into our administrator reports. Just wanted to share that as the calendar year, you could go on to the next slide, Mr. Ryan, as the calendar year 23 came to a close, we kind of finally got some resolution to some budget and other issues from the state. Both chambers did meet again this week in a non-voting session, and the governor will present his 24-25 budget proposal to the General Assembly on February 6th, which we will then be able to present what things are at least proposed in terms of education funding for next year. But if you go on to the next slide, just some of the things that kind of wrapped up the 2023 calendar year from the government. Included Act 33 of 2023, some highlights that I think specifically the board might be interested in. And the 7 of you that were with us at the start of this evening, I did send you more detailed information about this, and Dr. Faulkner and Mr. Umbriak, I'll send it to you as well. But wanted to share that school mental health grants will be available to school districts at about an average of $100,000 per school district again this year. School safety grants will also be available. There has been some confusion in the last couple years around school safety, where there was an Office of Safe Schools within PDE, and there was also, you probably heard us talking about PCCD grants, which stands for the PA Commission on Crime and Delinquency. And so you were kind of reporting to both entities. Funding was streaming through multiple sources, making it a little bit complex. They did eliminate the Office of Safe Schools within PDE. So now all school safety regulations and funding will come through PCCD. We should be getting more PCCD funding. Those are some things we used for, like, bollards we'll be putting in the summer, safety glass. We were able to get some curriculum around for our mental health task force, things like that in last year's PCCD funding. They are expanding some of the ways that the school safety grant funding can be used to be a little bit more mental health focused, understanding that mental health services actually provide prevention for future safety problems. The state is going to be providing, with some stipulations when you look at the fine print, but providing stipends to student teachers who commit to teaching in a PA school for 3 years. So they could receive some stipends to help with the cost of tuition while student teaching if they commit to staying in Pennsylvania, to help reduce the teacher shortage problem across the state. Also, in regards to teacher shortages, some adjustments to teacher and staff vacancies. They're going to continue to allow retired teachers to fill vacancies on an emergency basis. It used to be that once you started retiring and you were collecting your retirement, you couldn't go back into a public classroom. Now, on an emergency basis, that can happen. They are extending provisions for college students to serve as substitute teachers as they're getting close to their degree. And they are reinstating the concept of classroom monitors. That would be someone without a teaching certificate can monitor a classroom under the supervision of another teacher. And for school breakfasts and lunches, PDE will be reimbursing breakfast at the free rate across the state and be reimbursing reduced price lunches at the free rate. So these are things that got introduced during COVID that the state has found very valuable for students. So just a chance to feed more students, quite honestly. If you go to the next screen, you'll see some continuation of Act 33. So it does end. There are some things here that the Long Range Committee, I think, will want to look more closely at as we just look at options around the district. But it does end Plan Con 1.0 and delay Plan Con 2.0 till this summer. There's some revisiting there. There is some funding around environmental repairs for school districts that provide grants to school districts for projects that remediate environmental hazards. The districts do have some matching to the grants that you get. And Act 33 does increase EITC money. So nonprofit organizations that are doing educational, or not, excuse me, not nonprofits, for-profit organizations that are doing work with nonprofits can actually assign their tax dollars to student activities. And so they've increased the amount of money that can go into that kind of programming for students across the state. Act 34 of 2023, some additional amendments to the fiscal code. That is that PCCD funding. So in Act 33, it said that PCCD would be in charge of school safety, and then Act 34 said they'd continue those school safety grants. And there's some additional grants here for school improvement projects with some specific details about the types of improvements you have to do and how much matching. But again, would be something that our long-range planning committee may want to look at in more detail. Act 35 of 2023 did pass a financial literacy requirement. So Mr. Moser and I are already looking at, and we'll be starting to meet with some teachers at this month's professional development. So by the 25-26 school year, districts must have a half of a credit of personal financial literacy course in grades 9 through 12 that is a graduation requirement. PD is going to be providing more information about what certification is required for the teacher that will teach that course and just more requirements in general, but we certainly want to get out ahead of that so we can plan for that requirement coming. If you look at the next screen, you'll just see some other things that are kind of in the process of being passed, if you will, right now that I think are just good to have on your radar. So there are some changes to how to calculate average daily membership. So you do have to report your attendance, part of how your schools are scored. There are some changes being proposed for dual enrollment students so that you can encourage your high school students to be off campus, participating in dual enrollment opportunities, and still getting credit for their attendance, like here at the high school. There are some proposed changes to flexible instruction time. So we've heard a lot about FID days and things like that throughout COVID, where instead of applying for FID time, school districts would just be given some flexibility in how they calculate instruction. So it would be a minimum of 180 days or 990 hours for secondary, 900 hours for elementary. So if you actually calculate the hours in a 180-day year, we go certainly past those. So just some options for if things happen, like a water main break, for example. You know, that kind of personal. Some options there. And on another note, one other thing that they're looking at is allowing dental screenings to be conducted by hygienists because there is a shortage in many parts of the state in dental care, but we still want to get dental care to our students. Passed by the Senate right now, so sitting in the House, so it's just passed Senate but not House, would be mandating armed security in every school starting in the 24-25 school year. There's certainly significant cost and time and staffing. That'll be interesting to see how that plays out, considering they're saying that that would be for next year. Again, that is not passed right now. That is just passed in the Senate. And the Senate is also trying to extend school safety funding to help support that mandate. So we'll see if those things go through. Right now, the House Ed Committee has passed the following, but the Senate will still be looking at these issues. The first one is to require additional training for school board directors. They are looking at grants to help districts transition to electronic school buses. The reading that I've done on this, this was a newer issue for me. Didn't look like any mandates connected to it, but just grants for districts that were interested in starting to move in that direction. And they're looking at an AP cost reduction or even elimination to take any barriers away from AP testing for students. So those are House Ed Committee approving, but going to Senate issues. And certainly as I gain more information about any of that, be happy to bring that to the board. Any questions or needs there before I turn things to Mr. Moser?
Questions on these now instead of after?
Sure, that's fine, yes.
One's a statement.
Yep.
Because I brought this up several times, the enrollment at VOTEC.
Yes.
Consistently dropped. I believe the number you showed in ninth grade is 15. At one point, we're at 36. I think historically they've provided service to the region. Something's broken. I'm not trying to push more kids to go there that don't want to go there and don't need it. I just want to know what's going on. 2 consecutive years that it's dropped.
Thank you.
Second one, real quick.
Yes.
The stipend. They have to commit to 3 years teaching in Pennsylvania to receive the stipend to student teach.
Yes, it even said sort of in fine print that there'd be a process for the collection of the money if they then didn't follow through on
So they give them
teaching.
the money up front, though.
Yes, so it's from what I'm reading, so it's a newer initiative that I'm reading about. It looks like they'd be given the money to actually help pay for tuition. So at the time of student teaching, they would be signing essentially that they committed to teaching at a Pennsylvania school. It also looked like in fine print that there may be some additional money if they choose to teach in what the state would deem a hard to staff school.
Yeah, they've
Yes.
had programs out there for loan forgiveness for a long time. That
Right.
sound a lot like that. Okay, I'm good. The other ones, they're fine.
Thank you. I'll turn things over to Mr. Moser, who's going to talk about some of our advanced placement numbers.
Yeah, so one of the goals last year, as we talked in the spring and into scheduling season at the high school, was trying to increase our numbers of students who participate in at least one advanced placement course throughout their high school career, if not more than that. And the reason behind that is because some students don't know what that level of rigor will lead to for them. In some cases, they didn't think that they were able to do it, and then they find that they're very successful in one. Likewise, sometimes just being challenged and knowing that it's the closest thing we can provide to a rigorous college course during the high school experience with not only a level of rigor in academics, but in workload, but then also the ability to manage one's time and self through the academic process. So we've been talking about ways to remove barriers. I was very excited to see that last bullet on the last slide, which was the state looking to reduce AP exam costs, because AP exam costs are actually an incredible barrier for a lot of families and a lot of students. I think they're about $120 for an AP exam at this point in time, Lee? Per exam. Per exam.
Per exam.
Per exam. So that would be, a fantastic start. So what you're going to see here is a report of our advanced placement numbers in terms of enrollments this year. So if you see, excuse me, for 23-24, the total number of students in sophomore, junior, and senior years, and the row below that is the percentage of the class that represents. So what I will say is that certainly more courses are available as students enter their junior and senior years. The sophomore year is more limited. But so you'll see total number of students and the percentage that represents. And when you look at that last column, you'll see that of all students in grades 10 through 12, of which there are 498, currently 33.5% of those students are enrolled in at least one advanced placement course. One thing that is exciting, I think is good news for us in terms of one of our goals of kind of creating more opportunities for students and removing barriers, is that represents about a 5% increase compared to the 22-23 school year. So I think that's a function of two things. One, having those level of conversations within departments about prerequisites, having those conversations directly with students about what we would challenge them to take, what we think they're capable of taking. A lot of students just need to hear, honestly, in some cases, that an adult believes they should take that. And so we recognize we have to do a better job of that. I would also say that there were some serious changes to the scheduling process that certainly fulfilled more student requests, although I think that has more to do with students who took multiple APs as opposed to just one. So one thing to consider, those raw numbers up top, the 60, 66, and 41, they represent total unique students who are enrolled in at least one course. So overall, about that 33.5% of our student body who is eligible for those courses. If we can go to the next slide, please, Mr. Ryan. Here's a breakdown of the number of courses in which each student is actually enrolled. And you'll see that we have 69 students who are enrolled in at least one AP course. And that number obviously does go down a little bit as you increase the number of APs, all the way up to one student who, God love them, is taking 6 APs at one time. That's quite a rigorous schedule. Certainly was not Jason Moser in high school, but kudos to that student. But I think that the numbers there of 69 students taking at least one is very encouraging when you think about students who are out there willing to take that risk, who have been encouraged and have signed up for that course. That's a great first step. So I think that this is good news. I think it's numbers that we can build upon in terms of creating opportunities for students and having, encouraging students to truly take advantage of the opportunities that are available to them in Danville High School, because the number of AP courses that are offered here for our student population size, the size of our district, is truly fantastic. And to some degree, I don't know that all students necessarily when we started looking at this last spring, I don't know that all students were aware of all of the different opportunities that are available to them, not only in AP, but also in other opportunities such as dual enrollment credits moving forward. So one of the things that high school administration has been talking about and we've been discussing is having some serious programming informational nights for parents and students of each grade level, beginning with rising ninth graders, students who are currently in 8th grade, and the development of those programming nights so that we invite parents, we invite students in so that they understand everything that there is to offer. Not only discussing AP, concurrent enrollment courses, all the way down to cooperative education opportunities where students are able to go out into the workplace. One of the things that Act 158 allows for is, as a graduation pathway for students, is the completion of a pre-apprenticeship program. So that's something that we've begun discussing in terms of what does that look like, what opportunities do we have there. That's not strictly a co-op. It has to be paired with an industry credentialed kind of opportunity. But certainly within 15 miles of any direction from here, there are opportunities that exist within those trades. So what we want to make sure is we're looking at, AP is one piece of the puzzle, but making sure that we have the best possible opportunities for student outcomes and experiences, regardless of who that student is and what their access point is into the educational trajectory. Any questions about the AP enrollment figures in and of themselves?
No, but I do love the idea of the program nights. I think that's very beneficial for the parents because they just don't know.
Sorely needed. There's definitely a deficiency. Accepted at most universities as college credit if you get a 3 or better on tech and the STEM magnet and the cooperative things the kids don't know.
Yeah, we have started planning them. Mr. Gump and I have had several conversations. We have a general outline of what those evenings will look like. The timing of those, and we'll talk more about them at Academic Affairs, obviously, but the timing of those will coincide. They will happen before students make scheduling requests. So it's right there with your parents. Here are your types of options. Here's what we offer. Here are the things we have. Now, now make sure we're talking to our counselor. Make sure that we're getting in there and going through the advising process. And we've had some incredibly fruitful conversations, I would say.
That then takes us to looking at, in athletics, looking at Heartland and analysis of lost school time in the last 2 years. I'll turn that over to Mr. Moser as well.
Yeah, one of the things we've had an ongoing conversation about the PHAC and the way divisions are aligned. We've talked about things like transportation costs. We've talked about just the travel and the late nights home for students and sort of how out of line we are a bit because we're not aligned geographically, but we're aligned by student enrollment size. One of the pieces that we wanted to look at was the analysis of lost school time due to the athletic schedule. So this is an accumulation over the last 2 years for each sport, the total number of early dismissals that sport had, and how much accrued total amount of the school day those students missed. So for an example, probably the one that is most out of line, the reason why we look at 2 years is because if you only look at one, you'll find an imbalance year to year. You might have more home events one year, far more away events the year previously or the next year. But if you look and see baseball and softball in the spring, and the spring is who suffers the most, quite frankly, and that's a lot of times because of early sunset. Not all fields have lights, and so the cutoff point becomes, so they want to start games earlier. But if you see there, baseball and softball as an example, 7.5 hours, 8 hours and 15 minutes, total amount of school time lost. And then if you pair that with the number of times, so the spring sports season, technically from the time you start playing games to the time that season ends, is relatively short I believe they start playing in late March, like actual competitive games for which they would travel, and they're done in early May. So you're really looking at less than about a 2-month time span. So if you think about a 2-month time span and take out weekends, you're now looking at about 40 school days, a marking period. And in softball, as an example, probably about a quarter of the days of school, they are leaving their last class early. So there are a lot of ways to really look at this. It's not just the total amount of time, or they're not leaving 5 minutes early. If you are leaving a quarter of the time, quarter of the days, you're certainly missing quizzes that you have to make up. You're certainly missing exams that you have to make up. You're certainly at some point in time missing instruction that is critical to future success on quizzes or exams. Now, we're not suggesting that we would be able to eliminate all of this through geography, but geographical alignment and the way we are not geographically aligned now exacerbates this problem rather than abating it. That's ultimately the point we want to make, is that we can do better than what we see up here in these numbers.
Be able to, because I talked about this a lot.
Go ahead.
Just a couple of things. I count 122 early dismissals. Some of these kids, and I may be repeating some things I said because I was reading, some kids play multiple sports. So they're having multiple. Our kids are capable. We know that. They'll make it up, but they shouldn't have to. I think that's the point. We haven't even gotten to the budgetary implications in athletics and studying and looking through that. And when you have a softball team, for example, that is aligned with Williamsport, with 6A school, Jersey Shore, which I think is a 4A school. Now, again, I don't mind playing up. That's fine. It makes sense. It doesn't make any sense. Central Mountain and Lockwood, they're all our softball division, and we're not in with Bloomsburg, Central Columbia, Southern Columbia, schools that are where you run, that are very close to us and similar size. And a couple things that bother me. Number one is a lot of these things that have kind of evolved over time have really done so. Have any of you ever seen a vote Heartland here?
No.
And I'm not knocking our administration, because I would be willing to bet if you went around to most of the schools, part of the Heartland, their board members would say the same. These things have just happened. It kind of chipped away. It wasn't so bad at one point, and we added Central Mountain, then we pulled Williamsport in and everything except basketball. And then West came in. We play them in a lot of, that's out in Middleburg, which is not that far as the crow flies, but you try and drive through Selinsgrove and Shamokin Dam and Hummelswharf, and it's a little bit different. So anyway, this is something that obviously has bothered me for a long time. I'm not anti-sports. I love sports. 14 years. But the kids are traveling too far, and the ones that aren't reflected here are basketball. Wrestling, there must have been something after school because they play at night, so they don't have to leave school early. But still, you know, like girls basketball, I think they're with Jersey Shore, Mountain again, against 6A school. It just doesn't make any sense. And sometimes getting people to change away from things that don't make any sense is hard to do, so I've been harping on it. Appreciate all the research you've done. Don't know if we're going to get anywhere or not, but
Yeah, to your point there about the winter sports, they would suffer more
On
so
the
on the
other
other
end.
end, where they're getting home at 10:30, 11:30 some cases, sometimes even later. If you go into overtime and you're playing in Central Mountain, it could be a Tuesday night and you're not getting home until quite possibly midnight, and we expect you here to be learning starting at 7:55.
well, and you want to talk mental health, and you're the expert, I'm not, but you're putting an inordinate amount of pressure on kids because of the time that they're missing in class. Some of them are taking APs, obviously. It puts a lot of pressure on, not getting enough sleep, which I know we've talked about sleep deprivation from before I was on the board, how important that is. Plus, you know, in reality, the one area where our kids feel more outside pressure, I think, is athletics, not academics. I think the athletic pressure some of the kids, in all communities, but especially in this community, is all these things together. It's just a bad picture.
I think that's, I mean, obviously, being a parent who is involved in those trips is that traveling quite often. Central Mountain is not a fun drive. Jersey Shore is not a fun one. But I'm going to tell you, Huntington's even worse. So I think we need to tread lightly, that we don't alienate ourselves, and some of those other games, schools don't want to pick us up because, you know, maybe we ruffled feathers, and then we're looking at Huntington's and, you know, those really far off schools where literally you're talking hours just to get there to play terrible competition, quite frankly. So you know, it's definitely an understandable discussion, especially when you're looking at those numbers. I just think it's one we got to be careful with.
I want to add too, I'm glad you brought up Huntington, because the reason we had to play Huntington and Bellefonte, executive education, and I forget the fourth one, was because of the Heartland. They created that situation. Because they allow Hollidaysburg, because they allow schools to dodge other schools, which is something that the conference is supposed to be taking care of. That's what a conference does. So appreciate what you're saying. Just wanted to give you another perspective.
And then we'll end our superintendent report time with administrator board reports. I'd like to introduce two additional members to our admin team this evening. So we have two high school students with us. So we have a student government here at the high school that has class officers for 9th through 12th grade that work together to put on events for the school and keep student government going. And we thought it would be great for our high school student government representatives to get to experience district level government as well. So you'll see two different high school government students with us each month. So today, I feel really fortunate that we have Jara Stroney with us. Jara is the senior class president, and we have Lily Pitcavage with us, and she is the senior class historian. So ladies, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Gump, who's going to start with the high school board report, and I think he may have a part that you all are sharing as well.
Okay. All right, so as always, I'll try to keep it as short as possible. I have two main things from the board report that I'd like to share with the public and with the school board, and that is under academic initiatives, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, what we call the ASVAB, will be administered to juniors, mostly all juniors, and some seniors in the middle of this month. This is the second year where it's being administered a little bit more broadly than it has been before. In most cases, it's more of a career aptitude type of assessment, but there are certain cases, students who could really use a good score on there to help them along with the Act 158 guidelines and so on in the pathways to graduation. So we intend to assess students, and again, in the middle of this month. Another thing is under school community culture events, is I do want to, since Mr. Moser brought this up in his presentation, I just want to share that our quarterly class meetings are coming up, and in particular during our junior class meeting, Mrs. Hughes, members of the guidance department, and school administration, we are going to be meeting with our juniors about next year's cooperative education placements and some opportunities that they have. So again, in concert with Mr. Moser, Dr. Need, we are trying to do a much better job in educating our students and our parents on the programs that we have at the high school. So this is just one of those instances where we're really trying to get the word out about our cooperative education program in this particular case. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to Jara and Lily.
Hi, thank you for allowing us to be there. So I just wanted to talk about some of the events that have happened at the high school since school started. Our one big event every year is our homecoming carnival, and this carnival was the first time that all 20 officers got to get together to make up the Student Government Association, and it was the first event we really collaborated as a whole across all 4 grades, and we felt it was a great success for the entire student body. We also recently did an SGA Thankful Week where all the officers came together to help plan a week to give thanks back to the students and staff. This involved making paper plate awards, giving out breakfast, passing out coffee to the bus drivers, and putting just small tokens of our gratitude together for all the students and staff. And then finally was our Christmas events. While our much looked forward to of our holidays didn't get to happen this year, Christmas spirit was still felt throughout the school. We did different spirit wear every day leading up to break, and also small ensembles of both choir and band could be seen singing and playing in the lobby the week leading up to Christmas break.
Hi, I'm Lily. I'm the senior class historian. I'll just be talking about some of the upcoming events and things you can be expecting from us in the future. So for the seniors, we've began planning everything for graduation. That includes our senior luncheon and our senior trip. The juniors have a big responsibility coming up, and that is prom. They will soon be putting together a prom committee and figuring out all of those details. The sophomores will be responsible for holding and planning the snowball. Last year it was a huge success and brought in a lot of money for the class. And we are looking forward to what they will be doing at the end of the month for that. The freshmen will be working on fundraising in the spring. And our last big thing for the end of the year is the For John Festival. At the end of the year, the entire SGA will come together again to be a part of the For John Festival. The goal is to use what we have learned from the Homecoming Carnival this year and really make the festival the best that it can be.
So speaking as two seniors, having the SGA has been a great experience so far. This is our first year with the SGA, even though we've been officers for multiple years. So the opportunity to collaborate with all the class officers during Flex has been really beneficial and allowing us to focus on really making our school community better.
Even though this will be our only year as a part of the SGA, the senior officers are looking forward to everything we know the underclassmen will achieve through the SGA. And we just want to thank you guys for letting us be here.
Thank you very much, Jara and Lily. We appreciate your input and thankful to have students with us. Go ahead, Mr. Snover.
All right, thank you. So I'll keep it very brief as well. Two things I'm going to discuss. At the end of the month, we're ready to take our second round of winter testing. We just finished up the CDT tests in December, and we're going to focus in middle of January on really disseminating that data and kind of working through what the results of that are and what they mean for our instruction in the classrooms. But we are, at the end of the month, we'll be focusing on the iReady testing, which will be, for those of you not familiar with iReady, it's math and ELA testing that would really allow students to focus on individualized learning pathways based on, it's a test that basically adapts to where students are, what they know. It takes about 90 minutes. So we'll be doing that at the end of January. We run a 2-hour delay schedule, 2 days that week to get all the students in and not really miss, to miss as little instructional time as possible and still get these important tests in. The second thing I'd like to focus on, the day right before break, the 21st of December, we did have a very well-attended dodgeball tournament. I would like to thank some of our, there were about 12 high school volunteers there. Jara right here in front of me was one of them. I think she needed some earplugs when she left. It was very, very loud in there. But I am really proud to say about half of our student body participated in one way or another, and we raised over $1,100. That all goes to the American Heart Association. So a huge thank you to the high school volunteers who gave up a day in, nice comfy attire because the water main break. They would have otherwise been able to stay home and learn from their Chromebooks, and instead they came into the middle school and dealt with some screaming 12, 11, 13-year-old students for 3 hours. It was great, and I really appreciate them being there. And thanks to Marcy Kitka for organizing and kind of leading that event. So a great event for the middle school for a worthwhile cause.
Thank you, Mr. Snover. And
Thank you.
And I apologize, Dr. Faulkner and Mr. Umbriak. You may not realize, but we do have administrators have all created board reports that you have copies of in your folder. So they're just highlighting something from it, but you do have that for reference as well. So sorry I didn't mention that from the start. I'll turn it over to Dr. Reinard for Liberty Valley.
Thank you. I was going to start by talking about some of the discipline that we've been looking at Liberty Valley, specifically to our bus. And Mr. Garman and I spent some time together before the break. I like to say, riding the rails with the bus drivers. I've been going on the buses with our kiddos and just making sure that they, understand what it's like to be their best on our buses. So that's been a huge focus at Liberty Valley. And aside from that, one of the things that I'm really excited about, and I know our teachers are really excited about, is the fact that our students in grades 3, 4, and 5 had just completed their second classroom diagnostic, or CDT test, in the middle of December. And currently I'm working with Mr. Moser to organize the data with the goal to disseminate it to our staff ahead of our January 15th professional development. It is very important to us within the district, but especially at Liberty Valley, very important for us to get our data in the hands of our teachers so that we're able to, ahead of time, compare the data that we're given at the beginning of the year to how the students are progressing with what is going on in the classroom. So we are really looking at that data currently behind the scenes to just make sure that what we're doing in the classroom is working. So we're going to be spending some time on the 15th then to analyze the data, compare the data, work with the teachers to make sure that their questions are answered, make sure that they understand what the data means, and then use that data to then drive, as cliche as it sounds, drive our instruction. So we're spending the time to make sure that what we are doing in the classroom is working for our kiddos. So I'm very excited that we now have a second data point to compare.
Thank you. Ms. Wenrick. You can do a little pass back, whatever order makes sense.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking actually about both elementary and secondary intervention and special education. So the child count number, that's what goes into the state at the beginning of December, and it's for the number of identified students within our school district. And our child count number was released, and it's 452. But I wanted to talk more about the MTSS process and what MTSS stands for. And MTSS is a multi-tiered system of supports. And what we're starting to look at is how students are responding to interventions that we're providing within the classrooms. And what we're looking at is the different results from those assessments that both Dr. Reinhardt and Mr. Snover talked about, as far as CDTs and iReady and those different scores, and then how are students responding to what we're doing based on those team meetings to reduce our numbers and to make sure we're providing the appropriate interventions to students before they get to the point of identification, or what we can do to change the instruction or the way that they're getting the materials. So that's the one thing I will talk about, and I'll talk about the different interventions that we're going to provide next month. But I also wanted to tell you that at the end of January, as far as budgeting concerns are, I will be submitting a report to the state for contingency funds, which helps to reduce the cost for our out-of-district students who have a higher cost to the district for outside placements. And I wanted to report that the bocce team won its first game.
They did, yay. Mrs. Geis.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to highlight the primary school received a book vending machine from our home and school association. So when you leave today, when you go down to the bottom of the steps, it's toward the left. The kids absolutely love it, and we got it to get the kids excited about reading. It is amazing to see all of them crowded around it each morning, staring at those books with so much excitement. It doesn't take money. They have to have very special golden coins that all the teachers are armed with. Our secretarial staff and custodial staff have the coins, but they can earn the coins for good behavior, for using nice manners, for their academic work, just so for anything positive. Also, our primary school students are getting ready to take the DIBELS assessment, which is a reading assessment, and an iReady math diagnostic. That testing will start next week. We're using these 3 days this week to get our students, they're practicing to take the test, because the DIBELS test is timed. And as we all know, little kids like to tell stories while the testing is going on. So that's what we're up to at the primary school.
Thank you, Mrs. Geis.
Ms. Geis, how can I earn a gold coin? I have my eye on one of the books.
So I'll be real quick because I think it's probably people's bedtime, mine anyway. So just two things quick on my report. If you look at the top, there was a release of a notice of proposed rulemaking, an NPRM, on supporting the Head Start workforce and consistent quality of programming. Head Start is really looking at how they can support staff, have staff retention. We've talked about this so many times, but nationwide, there really is a shortage of staff in Head Start. We are truly blessed being part of the school district because some of the things in the NPRM we are already implementing. But they're looking at health insurance, paid time off for vacation and sick time, increased Head Start wages, staff wellness, mental health, safety, and also looking to expand possibly the eligibility of how a child is in Head Start by looking at the housing expenses that people have. So right now it's in a comment period, so you have 60 days to make comments on everything that you read in the NPRM, and that ends on January 19th. And then 60 days after that, they are gathering all the information and a final rule out. So I will keep you updated of what the final rule is, and then we will go through the final rule, and there'll be timelines in there, time frames of certain things that we need to meet, but I'll keep you updated on all of that. The second thing I just wanted to talk about a little bit is our attendance initiative. So we started this year with a superhero, here every day, ready on time, to try and really get our attendance up in preschool. Sometimes when people sign up for preschool, they don't really think attendance matters, but it does. It's really starting the kids off on the right foot for school and lifelong learning. And since the pandemic, we've really seen our attendance decreasing a little bit, so we came up with this superhero initiative. So since we started that, this past month, we gave out 74% of our kids earned a certificate, either an excellent or great improvement certificate. And our attendance has increased by 8% of last year. And every month this school year so far, we have been above 85% of attendance, which is awesome. That is one of our Head Start requirements, is 85% or above. And then we have met that every month. So we are really growing some great superheroes in Head Start. They love the certificates. They love the superhero prizes that they earn. And we're just getting the parents and the students all.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Ryan, any technology updates you'd like to share?
All right, just really brief. I just want you to take a look at, again, everything is running really well. The one thing that we added to the report this week was some printing numbers, and we've realized that our printing's just a little bit out of hand, so we're going to try to make some efforts in the future to kind of reduce those numbers to be both, financially friendly and environment friendly by reducing our printing numbers moving forward. So that's one thing that I wanted to highlight. And the second thing I wanted to highlight, just one more time, in the next few days, John Wangren, one of our tech guys here for 20 plus years, is going to be coming in for the final time. So he will be sorely missed. We have it on the agenda to have a new gentleman hired. So while we'll miss John, we'll also look forward to bringing in a new young gentleman to help us out and hopefully do some great things in the school district. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. That does take us to public comment.
So 5-1 public comment, 3 minutes, agenda items only. I'd like to open it.
I think we're going to need to pass a microphone. There you go.
Yeah, I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody. Starting off the new year right. Congratulations to the new board members. Congratulations to you guys for being here. SGA there. I just want to talk a couple minutes about some of the things with diversity. And I don't know if you were here before in December. I spoke about Black History Month here. Something along the lines that can be talked about. Let me give you my history of who I am first. I served 14 years in the Navy. I helped build Camp X-Ray. For some of you kids that don't know about that, that's in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I was in the Afghanistan and Iraq War.
So I hate to interrupt you,
go
but
ahead.
this public comment period is for agenda items only.
Okay. So I guess.
why don't we make an exception? Why don't you go ahead and,
I appreciate that. Thank you. As I was going on and giving you a brief history of myself, I recruited for the Navy. I went out for the all-Navy boxing team. We got here in 2012. I have 4 kids. All of them came through the district. I have twin boys that are in 10th grade. My son's a senior now. RJ, a lot of you guys know him. I was just talking about the diversity and maybe with the curriculum, you stated that we could do better. I was just hoping that we could do something like, I don't know, an assembly or something. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday or assassinate birthday is coming up on the 15th. There's no recognition in that. Like I said, I've been in the district for a while. You have a lot of people here who are growing. This place is growing. So you need some of that diversity. Mr. Johannes was like one of the only people who were on the board who had some diversity here and gave a different perspective. Nothing's wrong with what you guys got going on. You guys are golden. You're running this district like champs, and I'm glad to be here. But I'm a single parent. I'm raising my kids, and as a diverse parent here, I mean, there's like not really much representation, and I know I could move to Philly or somewhere else. But this is where I'm at, and I think that people like me exist here, but that's that. Let's stop there. Spitballing for the VOTEC. If you guys want to get people in the VOTEC, I think you guys should adopt some of the readings that they have about kids not having electronics in school, because that'll push them to generate some kind of mobility of wanting to do something other than be on their phones and look at everything and think they know everything. That's my only thing. I mean, like you said, it's a $5 million building. Want more people to go there. That's all I got. Have a great year. I'll be at many more meetings. You guys have any questions for me or anything?
we appreciate the comments. Do you think
Okay.
it'd be useful for you to sit down with the administration?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, if there's some ideas that you have that might actually be useful.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt to have that discussion with some of the administrators.
Happy to connect.
Okay, good deal. Awesome. Thank you guys.
I'll reach out. We have your contact information
Oh, yeah,
for your
yeah.
kids and all that. And
Yeah.
you and I have certainly chatted before, but
Yeah,
I'll reach out.
definitely.
We can find a time to connect.
Okie dokie. Thank you guys.
And I just want to let you know there has been some moves to reducing the amount of phone use
Yes.
in some of the school buildings, because your concerns are certainly valid, not just in the context of the vote tech, but in the context of
I know
bullying and
there's some school districts that did an experiment where they took the phones out. I mean, especially coming in from a younger.
So just so you know, we have no phones from kindergarten through 8th grade.
Mhm.
And we're seeing great success with that and a decrease in discipline problems. And in 9th through 12th grade, we have a quote unquote bell to bell, no cell. So we are preparing students to go to college or get a job, life beyond, where your cell phone is on you and you have to be able to responsibly use it and be a student. But we're asking for cell phones to not be present during history class, during science class, but it could come out at lunch. And that's just for our 9th to 12th graders. But all the way through 8th grade, there's no cell phones in Danville.
That is good. That's come a long way. My daughter had her cell phone, and it just.
Yes,
you
this
know,
is our
so-
first. This is our first year with that, and we're certainly just really thankful to our students and our families for support and understanding that this really is important for education.
And that's why this is the best district. You see that? Thank you, guys.
And I know there's been some improvements surrounding that, I think, in the middle school, surrounding bullying on social media and some other metrics, correct?
Yeah, we've seen some significant decrease in behavior issues this year that I think are directly connected to cell phone usage.
And that's a relatively recent thing, because the board approved it, I think.
Approved it at the beginning of this school year. So this is the first school year with that policy. So we're really thankful to the board for that vote, and thank you for your
Thanks
time.
for your time. Thank you. 6-1, oh, any other public comment on agenda items only? All right. 6-1, change order. The board will take action to approve a credit change order GC005 in the amount of $15,137 from the general contract Lobar Inc. related to wall coverings for the Liberty Valley renovation project.
Motion.
Second.
And I would just note that this is a credit, so this isn't something that we're paying.
For not finishing my job.
This closes it out, too.
This finishes Liberty Valley and is a credit to the district.
Ready?
Go ahead, Terry.
Mr. Brookhart.
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Garman.
Yes.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak.
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 7-1, second semester field trips. The board will take action to approve field trips for the second semester of the 2023-2024 school year as presented.
I have a few questions on this.
All right?
Start with motion and second. Is that how you want to do it?
Yeah, I would think.
Usually do. I just wanted to
Okay.
check. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Now you get into question.
Fire away.
The second semester, when does that end?
End of the school year.
Yeah,
End of
second
the school
semester
year?
would go
Semester is a
from
half
like
year, yeah.
here in a few weeks to the end of the school year.
Okay.
And these are the ones that we would certainly know to the best of our knowledge at this point in time. Sometimes a particular class, like an ag class or something, is invited to present at something, and in those cases, we'll bring additional trips in front of the board. But these are the currently scheduled ones for the rest of the year.
Is this how we typically approve them? We put this many together in a first semester? I don't remember.
This is something that we instituted this year because I think we found that we were scrambling a little bit, if I could be honest, and there's many trips that we know of. So we tried to do a last semester and this semester with sort of the masses and then others as they come.
It's just an awful lot to have at one time, but I'll kind of, whatever everybody's comfortable with. I
We
don't-
certainly can do a monthly list if that's a better way for the board to see it.
Whatever path we want to follow, I didn't remember doing it this way.
Why, also, why wasn't this brought through the athletic and extracurricular committee meeting then?
Is there a particular item that you're?
Because these are extracurricular clubs also that are doing these field trips also.
We
these
certainly can bring it to
Yeah, they
to
should
that
have been
first.
brought through the committee.
I apologize.
And then also the last question I have is looking through this list, there is clubs and there is classes, there is, your groups. There is some that are, some field trips are paid for through the club, such as FFA. And then you have one page full of another club that registration, hotel, transportation is all paid for by the district. What's the difference?
It's often like size of organization, activity of parent group, whether there's able to be fundraising efforts for that particular group. That happens in athletics, for example. The girls' tennis team is going to bring in far less money than the football team when it comes to like fundraising activities. So it just tends to do with how active and how large that group is.
And in some cases, there are some things that are budgeted within the school budget itself. Certain trips. So, what's the sea perch? I believe that's budgeted.
Yeah, that's budgeted.
That's budgeted, but it's still those trips would still need approval. So, if trips are budgeted for and that goes through the approval process, then they're also covered as well.
Well, I'm just looking at this list. I see like your history, the one class here is the history classes going down to Philly. And I mean, they have to go out and fundraise. Now that's a class versus where a club is going to, multiple areas such as Iowa, Nebraska, Kentucky, and yet we're paying for all the qualifiers, the registration, transportation, hotel, meals. I don't get why a class would have to fundraise versus over a club.
I don't know offhand what the cost was connected to that government trip. I don't know, Mr. Gump, if you'd have any insight
Well, I
into
mean,
that one.
it's showing here they have to.
Like how much they
it's
had
$6,000 for the busing.
Right. I'm thinking about an
It's-
individual kid and how much we were asking of them. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And and I'll be honest with you on that. So does the American Legion, and the Sons of the American Legion has contributed in the past also to that trip. But what I'm saying is that is a 10th grade American government class. It's a class that is in our curriculum that they have to go out and fundraise for this trip versus where a club we're paying them to go to Chicago and
Are we
Iowa.
asking if, how do we make the determination?
Yeah.
When they pay themselves and when the district pays? Is that what you
Like,
mean? Is that
because-
really to get it down to what we're looking
No, I
at?
think that's
Yeah.
a fair question, and I'm not sure we have really clear procedures on that. So that's
Because
definitely something we
budget-wise,
could
I
look
mean,
at.
that's a big what if. What,
We had these discussions all the way back to when Mrs.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, I'm gonna have the same question
Don't know
for
what the results were.
Answers either.
yeah, I'm gonna have the same question for 7.2. Is this, when we get to that, where's the difference? And that's why, like, this part of the list needs to come through the committee also, so we could sit down and, as a committee, figure it out through either athletics and extracurricular and then your financial also, because we need to know the finances for each trip.
So I might propose, and certainly don't want to overstep here, Mr. Vognitz in any way, but I might propose that we amend I'm just throwing this out there, to approve the January trips that are listed so that a student group didn't miss out in the month of January. And then we add this to the athletics and extracurriculars committee meeting for this month, and we'll bring before you February trips in February after we've had a chance to look at it more closely. But that way students don't miss out on something for January
No,
as a possibility.
No, I think that's a good idea. Our next meeting in February, you could even run to the same February. I think, did I make the motion?
Yeah, you made the motion.
I'm willing to amend the motion to make it January and February, and then have some clarification moving forward, if that's
Sure,
something
that's
that
fair.
people are comfortable with, that we know specifically who pays and why.
Right.
And
And the majority do come after February, so by amending it that way, we'll still have plenty out for discussion.
I'll make an amended motion that we, February, and that we ask for a report for administration.
Happy to do that.
I will second that.
Reasonable. And then it just goes to a vote, correct?
You have to ask for public comment first, right, Jen?
No, the information was already available
Okay.
for the public to do public comment on. Since the board is already just essentially taking 2 months that they're approving, it's not really a new motion from the floor. So I
Okay.
would say that there's no public comment that's
So
needed.
it's just a motion to amend.
It would be, yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve with amendment.
Approve an amendment.
And then we have
Okay.
to motion and vote on it, correct?
My recommendation to make this easy would be, because you have as presented, you could add additional language to say as presented for January and February 2024. That way, again, the information has already been available for the public. It's not really a full new brand motion. I think that'll be easiest.
Okay.
All right? Make it so.
Okay. Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Garmin,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak, Mr. Vognetz,
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. And we don't need to do anything else further.
We're good.
Okay.
Let's go
Till the end of
now.
February.
Just checking. 7.2, out-of-state field trip. The board will take action to approve an out-of-state field trip for 7 boys winter track athletes to travel to Geneva, Ohio to compete at the Spire High School Scholastic Showcase. The athletes will leave February 3rd, 2024 and return after the meet on February 4th, 2024 using a school van. The only cost to the district will be gas for the van.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second. The questions.
Yes, sir. It's all you.
Again, why was this not brought through the athletic committee?
I think that we hadn't brought any field trips through historically, but we certainly will be
Okay.
moving forward.
And in all honesty, this was not brought to us in time. Like I don't
Okay.
believe we would have even
That's
known
a-
about
that's a-
this
Right.
in
That's-
November.
Okay. And the other question I have is this the track club?
This is the track club, and this particular meet requires qualifying times, which is how that became the number of students.
Okay. That's
Just
part
like-
of my last question.
Right, kind of like forensics, you have to qualify for states or whatever. This
Yeah,
is a
it's part,
qualifying.
part of my last question. I mean, we've had this discussion multiple times, especially with this club itself, about making it a sport versus a club. I mean, if it's a club, most of our clubs that go out and fundraise for, like, FFA pays for their trips.
They are paying for this,
And-
except for the gas is what
Right.
they're asking.
And I understand that, but it's still a cost. I mean, it could add up. If every club wants to do that, it's still going to add up in the budget. So that's my questions here.
Yeah, I would just name that we'll certainly bring them moving forward. In this particular case, the families, the club is taking care of entry into this, students staying over, food, like all other costs associated with this trip.
Understood.
We have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Go.
Ready?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Mr. Gorman,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak,
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz,
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 7.3, Hall of Fame Selection Committee members. The board will take action to approve the selection committee members for the Danville Area School District Athletic Hall of Fame. Danielle Sticklin, Aaron Ross, and Tina Bartholomew.
I'm going to talk about this. I don't know if you want the motion, the second. I apologize. I know it's getting late. I'll try not to carry this on too long. Or do you just want me to start now?
Why
Because
don't you just start
I
in
may
these
ask
days?
about tabling this. And I apologize. I voted for the bylaws initially. I probably didn't look at them closely enough. I was trying to get this thing moving. We've been talking about it for close to 2 years now. I hate coaches being on this committee. I think it's a terrible position to have our coaches in to be making determinations. This should be community-based. We should be casting a wider net. Channel 8, little community service announcements in the press enterprise or the daily item to try to pull community in. And I know I was involved with one of these in another district as a superintendent, and I can tell you our coaches had no involvement whatsoever. Our principals helped as a liaison to get plaques hung and to give them a room to have their banquet. That's it. We had nothing to do with it, and it worked great because of that. And you're going to pull in all kinds of situations I don't think you want to deal with. Too many people from the district on these athletic committee, Hall of Fame committees. That's my opinion. If everybody else wants to move forward, that's fine. I'll vote no. No disrespect to the 3 people that are volunteering their time. I get it. I don't even think this is consistent with the bylaws anyway. I think it's one coach, boy and girl, right?
Yes, they would be people that also could technically wear the hat as community members.
And I hate the word technically when
hold
we're
on.
talking about approving things as a board.
Yes.
Sorry, no offense, Dr. Need, but as
No,
soon
no,
as
no,
somebody throws
I-
technically out of me, the antennas go up. Go ahead, sorry.
Fair.
I agree with Wayne that this needs to be community driven, which is why the selection committee membership is actually 5 community members and 1 former or current girls sports coach, or 1 former or girls boys sport coach. With the 3 people that's here, they're all 3 coaches, so one of them has to be not nominated.
Or
Because
they are a community member.
Or they're a
and that
community
goes back
member,
to the, why did we just put this on the website as opposed to
yes.
something? It just seems like we have not really outreach we should have done. But Richard, you're exactly right.
I mean, we only have 2 slots for 2 coaches.
So we have 3 coaches here.
Yes.
So, just to be clear, and I have no dog in this fight, and I don't honestly
I do.
care.
Because
I
I
know
bid
you
on
do. What we end up doing with this, whether we table it, whether we don't table it, whether we vote on it, we don't vote on it. But these were the only applicants for these slots with the way that we advertised, with the caveat, the way that we advertised, correct?
Correct.
And so, I'm just thinking about what's the end point if we table this. I mean, we end up having 2 choices. Either we re-advertise and we cast a broader net and see if we get more, or we change the bylaws to be more suitable with what.
Based on the conversation that I'm hearing in the comments from both Mr. Brookhart and Mr. Bognetz, I would like to recommend tabling and revising the bylaws to remove those coaching positions and just make it all community members, and then re-advertise as such.
Whoever said they don't have a dog in the fight, I don't have children in athletics here, and I certainly don't think I had to have the qualifications to ever be in one of these.
Oh, yeah,
I don't,
no.
that's not at all a part of this. I just think, I do go to the football games and some of the athletic events. I've talked to people about it. None of them even knew about it. And there were people I think would have probably been pretty good as members of the committee, but they didn't even know.
So,
Our
I mean-
website, if they're in the community and they don't have kids involved in sports or they need access it, they don't look.
what I'm hearing is it sounds like we should table it and send it back to the athletics committee for a proposal to rewrite the bylaws that go into this. Does that,
I think table's a great idea.
That's how I
Think
feel.
that's
Yeah.
fair?
does that sound like something that
I'd
makes
re-
sense?
Agree.
Dr. Green, I'd rather do that than vote no.
I
These
think
people are
that,
putting their names out there. I don't like to vote no for them.
that sounds completely
That's how I
reasonable.
feel.
Make a motion table.
Second.
There you go. Any other comment before I ask Terry? Okay. Terry, go ahead.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichert,
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak,
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz,
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Garmin,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 8-1, 2024, 2025. School calendar, first read. It's late enough that me reading 2024, 2025, I didn't think I said it right. Because it's definitely
It's
past my
late.
bedtime. The board will take
I'll
action
never
to
make it home. I'm
approve.
gonna just sleep in my bus.
You can park outside the first
You
kid's
could
house.
just go to the
Like the old days.
Turn
I'm
it
gonna
on.
sleep in the bus. I'm already there. Oh, my bus is at home though.
So the board will take action to, sorry to be distracting, to approve the first reading of the 2024-2025 Downville Area School District calendar as presented. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
A second.
Any comment? Barry?
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichert,
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak,
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz,
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Garmin,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 10-1, finance reports, no voting needed. They're just attached, correct?
Finance reports is just Mr. Sokolowski who's going to share a little bit about
All right.
finance.
3 items. Tonight, you're going to see an item requesting approval to open a new bank account for the purpose of accepting credit card transactions for the convenience of our parents and so forth. We'd like to open the account and keep everything separated so we can monitor that. Second item, we get our wheelchair van that was ordered back in September. It showed up Tuesday the 19th. December, we're putting that into place for our student body. It can be used for obviously our wheelchair hours of athletics and so forth as needed basis. And the last item, the dishwasher was installed last week, operational by the end of this week. I want to thank the maintenance department for running all the utilities, our electrical, our plumbing. We have some punch list items that are being taken care of, but we have a brand new dishwasher in high school. I want to thank minor items that had to be done. Sorry. Any questions for me? Okay, thank
No.
you.
10-2, November 2023 finance report, and that's just informational, correct? 10-3, December 2023 cash receipts, also just informational. And then something we have to actually vote on, 10-4, bills for payment, December 1st, 2023 through December 20th, 2023. The board will take action to approve bills for payment for December 1st, 2023 through December 20th, 2023, as presented.
Motion.
I'll second.
Barry?
Mr. Reichert,
Abstain.
Mr. Umbriak,
Yes.
Mr. Vognitz,
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Garmin,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 10.5, new bank account. The board will take action upon the recommendation of the business manager to open a new bank account at Fulton Bank for purpose of accepting credit card receipts for limited school district business operations.
Motion.
Second.
Terry?
Mr. Umbriak.
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz.
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart.
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Garmin.
Yes.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. Personal consent items. The board will take action to approve personnel items 11.2 through 11.12. Would anyone like to remove any of these personnel items from the consent list? Please take a moment to look through. Okay. Going once. Twice. Terry?
We need a motion and a
Oh,
second.
motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Who second? I'm sorry.
Second.
Mr. Vognetz.
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart.
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Garmin.
Yes.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 11.13, the board will take action to approve the 2023-2024 coaching list as presented.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Brookhart.
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Garmin.
Yes.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak.
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 11.14, new hire, long-term substitute teacher. The board will take action to approve the employment of Eric Velez as long-term substitute autistic support teacher at the middle school at a contracted yearly salary of $56,693 BS Step 1, effective January 4th, 2024.
Motion.
Second.
Dr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Garmin.
Yes.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak.
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz.
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 11.15, new hire, technological support analyst. The board will take action to approve the employment of Sean Freeman as a technology support analyst at a yearly salary of $50,000 effectively January 4th, 2024, pending the receipt of all clearances and documentation.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Garmin.
Yes.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak.
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz.
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart.
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 11.16, new hire, paraprofessional. The board will take action to approve employment of Teresa Rettmeyer as a paraprofessional at Danville Middle School at the contracted hourly rate of $13.70 an hour, effective January 4th, 2024.
I'll second.
Mrs. Heater.
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman.
Yes.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak.
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz.
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart.
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner.
Yes.
Mr. Garmin.
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 11.17, new hire, paraprofessional. The board will take action to approve the employment of Claude Felter as a paraprofessional at the middle school at the contracted hourly rate of $13.70 an hour, effective January 4th, 2024.
I motion.
Second.
Mr. Hoffman.
Struggling over
Yes.
here.
Mr. Reichard.
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak.
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz,
Yeah.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Garmin,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 1118, new hire, paraprofessional. The board will take action to approve the employment of April DeWalt as a paraprofessional at the Danville Primary School at the contracted hourly rate of $13.70 an hour, effective January 4th, 2024.
Motion.
I second.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak,
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz,
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Garmin,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 1119, new hire, custodian. The board will take action to approve employment of Xander Oberdorf as a custodian at Danville Primary School at the contracted hourly rate of $13.70 an hour, effective January 4th, 2024.
Take a motion.
Second.
Mr. Umbriak,
Yes.
Mr. Vognetz,
Yes.
Mr. Brookhart,
Yes.
Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Garmin,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 1120, new hire, maintenance. The board will take action to approve the employment of Kenneth Schmidt III as a maintenance person at the contracted hourly rate of $15.55 an hour, effective January 4th, it says 2023, but I think it's 2024. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Mr. Vognetz,
No.
Mr. Brookhart,
No.
Dr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Garmin,
Yes.
Mrs. Heater,
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman,
Yes.
Mr. Reichard,
Yes.
Mr. Umbriak,
Yes.
Dr. Green.
Yes. 12.1, policy and insurance consent items. The board will take action to approve policy and consent items 12.2 through 12.5. Please take a moment to look at them and see if there's any you would like to remove.
Which ones? 12.2 through,
12-5.
all right.
Yeah. Motion.
Yeah, all four of them.
Want to remove them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. These are expulsions. 12.2 through 12.5 are all expulsions, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Jennifer, do we have to have the policy violation on those?
No.
We don't have to have what it's for?
No, it's fine. What we have there because of FERPA and relative to FERPA, the designation that we have there, that's consistent with what we've done in the past for these type of agreements.
It is consistent with what we've done in the past?
Yes.
In the district?
Mm.
You're sure of that?
I believe so. I can double check, but it's consistent with what I've seen in other districts as well to say an agreement to approve
Okay.
this type of
'Cause
agreement.
I know a lot of these, when they come out in the newspapers, no offense, and I don't know that it's here, I don't remember. I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying I don't remember, but many times when there are expulsions, it actually goes out publicly and what it was. Not the kid's name, obviously, you don't want to identify them, you can't do that, but it does say that, I was just curious. The other thing was that we received what the proposed amount of time was before we were ever informed of what was happening. I think administration can only exclude students from school up to 10 days, and then it goes to the board. Is that correct?
Yes, their 10 days finished right before Christmas break.
Okay, but we got the agenda with these amounts before we ever were aware of this even happening. Am I correct?
Yes, we did speak about it in executive session today.
But they were on the agenda before that. That's all I needed to ask. Okay.
Yeah, I think what Wayne's getting at is that after 10 days, it comes to us as a board before we actually set a date. That's where I was getting at.
Right. That's
Prior.
where we are at today. And so I apologize there wasn't communication prior to executive session.
Yeah, because I think that's where Wayne's getting at, that we are the ones that make the determination on
Only
the
the board,
amount
only the board
after
can
10 days.
Only a board can keep a student out of school longer than 10 days.
Correct.
Right, got it. Which, if we vote for this, that's what we're doing.
Correct.
Okay. All right, yep, I'm good.
Are you okay voting with them as a consent agreement, or you want them voted on as?
I'm going to vote separately. I would
Okay.
like it voted separately.
12.2 expulsion agreement. The board will take action to approve the expulsion agreement for student B1374 for a minimum of 39 school days at the beginning of January 4th, 2024.
We do a brief adjournment to executive session, is that a possibility? I don't want it to die. I think
Well,
that'd be a big mistake.
I also think, Robert and myself, we're not a part of executive session, so we don't even have any information whatsoever about I know I hate to drag it out too, but you know what I mean? Like, we would be voting on something we don't even know.
And I wasn't in it, and that was my own fault. But I still, when I saw this and I saw amounts on our agenda and we hadn't had any information about it at that point, I was kind of concerned that we were putting one thing in front of the other, and it should have been the other way around.
Would be great to bring Robert and Sam up onto this.
I think we could finish it in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Executive session.
I just say we're taking a brief executive session to discuss personnel and/or other issues which are appropriate discussed during that session.
Well, it wouldn't be personnel, it would be student confidential matters.
Student issues, yeah. Okay.
So. All righty. So we're back from discussing student issues in executive session, ready to get this party started.
I'm okay with all four being together.
Thank you. So, just as a refresher, the board will take action to approve the policy and consent items 12.2 through 12.5.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Let's go.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 12.6 Head Start Consulting Agreement. The board will take action to approve the nutrition consulting agreement between Danville Head Start Pre-K and Pamborough's NDTR in effect for the Danville Head Start Pre-K grant period that will terminate August 31st, 2024, as presented.
Motion.
Second.
Talk on.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 14.1, board concerns and items for the next meeting agenda.
Yes, I should bring up Long-Range Planning Committee.
Perfect.
We're gonna need a meeting soon. We'll get in touch with people, we'll set a date. Four things I'm hoping will come out of this. I don't know if we're gonna do a project of any type or not, but we did purchase the land across from the primary, which means we should at least talk about it. Capacity, age of buildings, all those things, but we probably should, look at getting an architect to do a feasibility study. We'll talk about that with the Long-Range, Planning Committee. We had one done a couple of years ago. I don't know if we want to stay with the same architect or entertain others. That's a discussion. I would say cast a wider net and get competition. That's my belief. So that's something I think we need to discuss. Capital campaign, if we are going to do anything, I'm hoping we can defray as much cost as we possibly can through private money, donors, advertising, whatever the case may be. And possibly the establishment of a foundation, 501c3, to pass money through if we do get donations. And we should talk with our bond counsel and see where we stand from their perspective. And then if we move forward, we'll know where we stand. If we don't move forward, we're good. So we'll meet soon.
You want to pick a date?
Can I, give me a little bit of time to do that? My schedule's, I don't work like a crazy schedule, but I don't have great flexibility. So let me see. Things pop up. And the second thing is Act 93.
Yes.
I don't know if Dr. Green and Mr. Vognitz and I are going to do that again. We did the last one. If other people want to step in and do it. The Act 93 is the administrative compensation plan. It expires, I believe,
The end of June, June 30th.
Yeah, and we probably should be on that.
Yep.
Normally, we would have started a little sooner, but with the board reorganization, new people coming on the board, we did not. So that's something we should talk about. That is not necessarily, it's not collective bargaining, they're not unionized, but it is an agreement that once you reach it, you get to follow it. Jennifer, is that right? Okay. And I think that's it for me.
How many people's on the committee for long range?
What do we have for long-range plan? Three? If you want
That's it.
on, we can have a fourth.
I'll give that a thought.
As long as there's no quorum, it fits with buildings and grounds, too.
Yeah. I don't know if I can get it out of the house.
Couple of things. Now, we have talked in the past about getting proposals for the maintenance on the track. Where do we stand at on that?
We're putting together a long-range track maintenance plan, and we did discuss this a little bit at athletics, but we'll make that an agenda item for our athletics committee meeting. But we have like plans for all the current repairs that need to be made. Some are done, some are coming, but we could kind of go literally crack by crack for you if you'd like, and then we'll talk about the long-term planning.
The tennis courts also?
We do have a draft for what our actual in-house track maintenance plan looks like.
Yes.
In talking with, I did talk to somebody from Miller. Basically, it's what
They would
they would do in terms of that. So In terms of the tennis courts, that is something that we have put
I
together.
would say we're working with Jennifer
working with
because we
Jennifer.
have some
There is
there's disagreements between whose responsibility it is
Okay.
to fix between painters and like concrete
Pavers.
and pavers. And we're not able to resolve that at this point without some legal threats, if you will.
Yeah, we have received pricing on the watch fire or
Watch
whatever.
fire, yes, we do have a quote. My plan was to bring that into
Next month.
next athletics committee meeting, next finance committee meeting. We now have two. You do a side by side and look at the entire proposal from a package perspective.
Yep, sounds good. And then also, did we receive quotes on the controls project?
We did. We'll bring those to buildings and grounds for discussion, but we're not in a point where we're ready to bring anything to the board. Like, we're not
Because I
sure
know
there's
that's-
going to be.
I mean, we approved the bids to go out for them, so. that's
Bids
why I
have
was
gone
wondering.
out, but we're not ready to
Okay.
say we want to go with anybody in particular at this point yet. I think there'll be some discussion with that with long range, and I know you're sitting there because I think we need to be a key reason to go through a project like that is because of the concerns at the middle school right now. And so I think the long range committee should weigh in as well as buildings and grounds so that we can start thinking about what are the long-term plans for the middle school. And
Would mean that long range should move shorter, quicker,
Yeah.
sooner rather than later. Okay. Real quickly, Wednesday nights, guys, the work I do is all public school consulting stuff where I go out to board meetings at times, and none of them meet on Wednesday nights. So that's,
It's been fine from my perspective. What about the rest?
we can do Act 93 and long range, maybe it's
Yeah, I mean,
same night.
it's us three, the same.
Thursday night.
Oh.
As long as it's not a third
He always
Wednesday of the
follows
month.
I say he's third Thursday right now.
No, it's the
So
third Wednesday of the month what I'm getting at. I'm
All
just
right,
told it's not the same week.
All right, we'll check with the schedule. Okay.
Oh, my weeks are different. Go Monday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday. Depends on how my day goes.
15-1, public comment. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close that. 16-1, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second, third.
Fourth,
All right.
go to
Adjourn.
bed, everyone.